Hi everyone, today I'm going to be giving you a 4-week update on our chicks. All 16 chicks are doing really well and they have been living full-time inside of their permanent coop. Luckily they've figured out how to use their hanging nipple water so that their water stays nice and clean, and their larger hanging feeder has been working out really well also. They have been loving their roost and have been exploring every area of their coop, and we're pretty impressed by how high and well they can fly at such a young age. And here's a quick look at the inside of the coop, but we are planning on doing a more in-depth tour and look at our coop and setup in a little bit. For the past 2 weeks, they've been living comfortably inside their coop, but they're starting to get a little restless and they're getting large enough that we can let them outside. So we're letting them out for the first time today. The area that we're letting them out of is completely enclosed on the sides, so we have fencing that has welded wire as well as chicken wire layered on top of that, just to make sure they can't squeeze through any of those holes. And this area is their permanent enclosed run area that they're going to have as they grow older as well. So we thought it would be nice to introduce them to the outside world, which they've never seen before. So we've opened up their little chicken door on the side of the coop, and at first they were all very wary of coming outside. Throughout this process, the chickens were using their alarm chirp, which is what they use whenever they hear weird noises or are stressed or in a new environment. It took them a good 5 minutes of just peeking out the door before a few brave souls finally made a few steps outside. And from there, it took them a few minutes before they finally touched onto the ground. Like with most things for chickens, once one of them does something, the other ones will follow suit. So once a few chickens were down on the ground, many others were right behind them. Within no time, they were pecking at the ground looking for bugs and any weeds to peck at. And although they did stay on the more alert side this first day, they also seemed to really enjoy just this freedom to fly around a little bit. They can't really fly very high right now, but they do fly laterally a lot, and I think they were really happy to be able to have all the space to run around. And here's a quick look just of the other side of the run so you can see a little bit of our fence setup. This first day, most of the chicks did go outside, but we had a few stragglers that stayed inside the coop and they decided they had everything they needed in there and weren't interested in the outside world. So here are 4 of them that just stayed behind and they just hung out there even though everyone else was outside. We left the door open for them and we didn't force them to do anything. We figured they would just go outside when they were good and ready. And by the next time we let the chicks out, everybody was ready to go out. And also just a note for inside the coop, we have had their brooder on in there 24/7 just to give them an option. We've had our radiant heat brooder set at the tallest setting and even propped up one side of it as the chicks grew larger. But at this point, our weather is starting to get very warm, and now that they're older and have a lot of their feathers, they don't actually need to use the brooder. Usually at night we see them huddled up in a corner that is not where the brooder is, so we know that they don't really need that extra heat. So from this point, we're turning off the brooder and just letting them regulate their temperatures on their own. The chickens outside were having so much fun pecking at the ground. They especially liked going up to the edge of the fence because there was chickweed kind of poking through the mesh of the fence, and that's one of their favorite weeds to eat. At 4 weeks, the chicks are definitely looking kind of like weird little dinosaurs. Their heads are really silly because they have a few down feathers that are starting to shed a little bit, so they usually have some crazy hairdos, and most of them have a lot of their wing and tail feathers coming in as well. You can also see that some of them are starting to develop their combs. We can especially see this with our Red Star varieties, which are the lighter yellow and reddish ones. Here's our little blue cochin chick who is really good at finding bugs. Every time she finds a bug, she picks it up and starts running, trying to get the other chicks to chase her. It's really cute. For the first few times we let them out, we made sure that we were there with them to supervise, just because they still are very small and we were worried they could slip through the fence. We actually did have a few close calls where the chicks were a little too curious on what was on the other side of the fence. And we also want to make sure that they're safe from any predators like hawks or neighborhood cats. At some point, one of the chicks found a massive worm. It was the biggest worm I have ever seen in my life, and they were all really excited about that. They would just pick it up, run around, and have the other ones chase them. And that poor worm got ripped apart and pecked out for sure. We're really glad to see them eating lots of bugs because that's a really good source of protein for their diet, and it also means that they're getting a more varied diet other than their chick feed. Since the chicks have been in their coop for 2 weeks, they know that that's their home base, and they should be able to find their home on their own, and they'll go right back there at night. For this first day, since we only wanted to let them out for a short amount of time, we did manually put them all back in their coop just to make sure that everyone was back in there safely. But in future times when we let them out, they are ready to go back into their coop once the sun sets by themselves. So that's pretty much it for our 4-week update. We hope you enjoyed seeing our chicks go outside for the first time. It was a really exciting process for us, and we can't wait to show you more as our chicks grow older.